is a book that I want to introduce you. It's named Malleus Maleficum, also called Witch's Hammer. The Malleus Maleficum is a treatise on witchcraft written in 1487 by two German Dominican monks, Heinrich Kramer, Jakob Sprenger. It played an important role in the witch trials and persecutions that swept Europe in the late Middle Ages and early modern period. The treatise was published with the approval of the Catholic Church and quickly gained widespread acceptance. It provided a supposed justification for persecuting land witches and was used witch hunters as a manual for identifying, interrogating, and persecuting individuals accused of practicing witchcraft. One of the fundamental arguments presented here in Malleus Maleficum was circular reasoning. Premise is, witches exist and engage in malicious activities to harm society and individuals. Conclusion is the presence of malicious activities is evidence of the existence of witches. Isn't that too simple? In essence, the authors of Malleus Maleficum took the presence of harm as proof of witchcraft and in turn used the existence of witchcraft to account for the existence of harm. This circular reasoning led to a cycle of self-reinforcing beliefs in which any misfortune or disease was attributed to the actions of witches, reinforcing beliefs in their existence. Another historical moment explaining circular reasoning is the geocentric model of the universe, proposed by the ancient philosopher and astronomer Ptolemy. In the 2nd century AD, in Ptolemy's geocentric theory, the Earth was considered the center of the universe, and all celestial bodies, including sun, moon, planets, and stars, were believed to revolve around the Earth in circular orbits. Ptolemy attempted to explain the apparent motion of heavenly bodies, across the sky by a complex system of epicycles and eccentrics, as you can see. I'm sorry for bad drawings. The circular reasoning of Ptolemy's model can be summarized as follows. Earth is the center of the universe. Conclusion is therefore all celestial bodies revolve around the Earth. Wow. I have nothing to say. As you can see, circular reasoning is when someone tries to prove something by saying it's true because it's true. Suppose we have proposition P, and we want to prove that it is true. Circular reasoning occurs when we use P itself as a premise to prove P. Symbolically, it looks exactly like this. Here, the arrow indicates implied or continued. The statement to the left of the arrow is used as premise, and this one is the conclusion. This type of reasoning is invalid because it does not provide any new information, or this type is just so cool right here. It doesn't have any evidence, It's like saying P is true because P is true, which gives no rationale for the truth of P. In logic, we want to avoid circular argumentation and use valid reasoning with adequate evidence to support our conclusions. It's like spinning. The Malleus Maleficum contributed to a dark chapter in history known as European witchcraft, witch trials. Tens of thousands of individuals have been wrongfully accused, tried, and executed based on flimsy evidence and circular reasoning. It was long after the gradual end of the witches' trials and recognition of the injustice perpetuated that society began to critically examine and reject such flawed reasoning. Women as witches and men as disciples of witches, even with pious and upright faith, proceeded according to the method identification and executed described in chapter 3 of this book. The flaw in Ptolemy argument is that he assumed the Earth was the center of the universe, and used this assumption to conclude that all heavenly bodies must revolve around the Earth, must revolve. Essentially, he used the very thing he was trying to prove as evidence to support his claim. Well, incidentally, despite circular reasoning, the Ptolemaic model has been widely accepted for centuries, in part because of its ability to predict the positions of celestial bodies with reasonable accuracy. However, it eventually faced challenges from other astronomers such as Copernicus, who proposed a heliocentric model with the sun at the center of the solar system, revolutionizing our understanding of the universe. And to avoid falling into the trap of circular reasoning, it is essential to look for real evidence and logical reasons when arguing. Yes, obviously, right? But in modern society, circular reasoning can still be found in a variety of contexts, including debates, advertising, and other forms of media. Here are some examples of circular reasoning that can happen now. Politics, such as political debates in which individuals or group can use their opinions or belief as evidence to support claims without providing objective or verifiable data. Or religious controversy, religious belief in which individuals may use their own scripture or sacred doctrine to prove validity of their belief without considering other point of view or empirical evidence. But advertising is saying our product is the best, or that it is superior because it is the best, without providing any specific evidence or objective criteria for the claim. Social media can cause circular reasoning within echo chambers. Here, like-minded individuals are not critically examining alternative viewpoint or seeking evidence-based arguments. It's just like a bubble, and then they're just locked inside, and you know what happens then. For some pseudo-scientific or unscientific claims, circular reasoning may be used to support unconventional theories whose conclusions are simply based on restating initial assumptions. Earth is the center of the universe, or the Earth is the cube. Well, the situation is quite serious. But what if the essence of circular reasoning has already fallen into itself? I mean, what if it has already repeated in the structure despite the development of science, philosophy, and logic in this age? Predictably, circular reasoning can hinder progress in science and education by leading to stagnant knowledge, impending critical thinking, consequently inaccurate conclusions. It can resist change, hinder educational growth, and reduce problem-solving skills. The point here is that circular reasoning can still be problematic when we're talking about the history. The use of circular reasoning in historical analysis can lead to biased interpretations by reinforcing existing narratives without examining other points of view. Same thing, yeah. Applying a rigorous, evidence-based historical method is essential to obtain a comprehensive and accurate understanding of the past without falling into the trap of circular reasoning. Now back to the main point that I wanted to tell you. I wanted to talk about eternal return. Why suddenly from logic to philosophy? Well, what you are going to see now is hypothetical. Let's try to theorizing something. Well, eternal return is a philosophical concept that poses an infinite and cyclical time pattern in which everything that has ever happened or will ever happen in the universe repeats itself endlessly. It suggests that time is not linear, with a beginning and an end, but that events, situations, and even individuals' life follow an internal cycle that repeats itself endlessly. The concept of eternal return has been explored by various ancient and modern philosophers, but one of its most famous proponents was the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. In his work, Those Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche introduced the idea of eternal return as a thought experiment that challenges individuals to face the importance of their lives and choices. Nietzsche's thought experiment is as follows. Imagine if devil, I do not know how devil looks, approaches you and tells you like this, everything repeats, bro. And what if that's true? That you have to live your entire life over and over again, forever, with all its joys and all sorrows, victories and failures. That's pretty hard. The question Nietzsche raised is whether you will affirm and accept this idea or let it lead you to despair. For Nietzsche, the concept of eternal return served as a test of one's ability to fully accept life and find meaning in all aspects of existence. If they can affirm the eternal return and accept the challenges and joys of life with unwavering passion, they have achieved state of love of destiny. The core of Nietzsche's philosophy of living a life of self-affirmation and self-overcoming. However, the concept of eternal return is not to be taken as a literal theory of time or scientific proposition. Instead, it functions as a philosophical tool that triggers deep reflection, re-evaluation of values, behaviors also, and attitudes towards life. The concept of eternal return has had a profound influence of existentialist thought and has been the subject of debate, interpretations among philosophers and scholars. Some find it inspiring and empowering, while others may see it as an unsettling and daunting concept. Ultimately, it remains a thought-provoking and philosophical exploration of the meaning of life and the choices we make within the confines of time. Well, let's connect this and those. Well, the praise history repeats itself is often attributed to American writer and philosopher Mark Twain. The idea that history repeats itself is also a common concept in philosophy and historical thought, and many ancient and medieval thinkers such as Greek historian Herodotus and Roman philosopher Seneca and the Christian theologian Augustine expressed similar sentiments about the cynical nature of history. Mark Twain often uses this phrase, but its origins are much older. The concept of historical cycle and pattern is recurring theme in literature. As a result, several famous personalities throughout history have referred to or alluded to this idea, and it has become a widely recognized and enduring concept in human thinking. When a similar situation or pattern occurs, that will definitely be mentioned or come to mind. As a similar example, Tolstoy's human greed is endless, and he repeats the same mistake. Where the conclusion and also a question is that if the progress that we have made is repeated in the eternal return, aren't we trapped in the similar, circular theory of cycles? If circular reasoning is logical system and Nietzsche's eternal return is a fundamental question of philosophy, what if the historian and also all the individuals get stuck in the circular reasoning itself, circular argumentation itself, who came with ideas like old as new, new as old, I think therefore I am. It all just keep on repeating, right? What if it just keep on repeating, never stops in this eternal return? How much does this circular reasoning resemble? If history really repeats itself, wouldn't our reasoning be also like repeating? I don't understand what I'm saying, but for history repeating itself, there has been much credible logical reasoning, the witch hunt has been abolished, and history reminds that us of the mistakes we made. However, if everything is repeated meaninglessly within the eternal return, like nihilism, the witch hunt will be repeated and the earth will become the center of the universe again. In this way, the validity will return to the validity again and the irrationality to the irrationality again. Everything in the world is everything in the world. So the main point is that are you really who you are? If this is true, by this, all theories, all happenings, history repeats, eternal return, cycles. What kind of evidence do you have that you are who you are? That's the end of the video. This clumsy, messy video. And next time, if I ever going to make another one, I'll try to be less clumsy, less messy. Thank you for watching.